Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to show you how I modded my Squier Bullet Mustang. A little disclaimer up front, this is not a music channel and I'm not really a guitar player. So what am I doing modding a guitar? Well, I do make music. I make ambient mostly and I use guitars sometimes in that. So last year I bought this really cheap Squier Bullet Mustang. I originally thought, well, I should maybe save up for something nice, something better. But then I heard a demo of this guitar and I thought it's perfect for me. So I bought it and it was really cheap and I really like the way it sounds. But the guitar has some problems and it does need some mods to make it a better guitar. So it took me a while to get all the parts that I wanted to put in there. I do like the pickups, so I wanted to keep those, but everything else pretty much had to go. The pots were crackly and the saddles were rattly, and you also couldn't really intonate the guitar because the screws on some of the saddles were too long, and yeah, it was a bit of a mess. And I also wanted some locking tuners, and I thought while I'm at it I might as well do it all. So I waited until I had all the parts ready because I knew that if I had to wait maybe I would lose momentum and wouldn't finish. So after all the parts arrived, I took the strings off and started on the neck. And the neck of this guitar is completely untreated. It's not really rough, but I thought it could be a bit smoother, and I also wanted to protect it because we have quite humid weather here and maybe that wouldn't be so good. So first I sanded the neck and I just went in with some 300 grit, 600 grit and then 1000 grit. And that was super easy and I was very careful, trying not to change anything in the process. I also didn't want to lose the Squier logo, so I was very careful around there. So after that I polished the frets a little and made sure that there were no sharp edges anywhere. After that it already felt so smooth, I really liked it. The next step was to put some True Oil on it. So True Oil is generally what's recommended on guitar channels, so I thought I'd get it, and it was surprisingly hard to find. I only found it in the UK in the end, and I also got some wax. At first I wanted to just use the True Oil, but I read somewhere that it might get sticky over time if you just use the True Oil. So I ordered both and I applied both. It wasn't very difficult. With that, the neck was almost finished and I could move on to the body. I wanted to keep the pickups because I really like the sound of them, but I wanted to do a coil split because I wanted to get some more tones out of it. That was actually the main reason why I did this mod, because I wanted to have more tones to play with in my ambient stuff. So that was what I did in the end. I did a coil split. And for that, the best thing is to shield the cavities with copper foil. Shielding the whole cavity took me about an hour or something like that, and of course I cut myself in the process because it has very sharp edges, and well, my blood went into this guitar, so I guess it's mine now. Oops. After shielding it, I decided to start on the pickups. This pickup is actually a 4-wire pickup, but it looks like a 2-wire pickup because the cable has only 2 wires. But once you unwind it, you find that there are 4 cables that you can connect to. So I connected a shielded USB cable to those 4 wires after looking up how it is done and trying to figure out the color coding, and I thought I had the color coding right, but the neck pickup and the bridge pickup actually have the color coding on it, the black and the white cables reversed for some reason. I'm guessing that in the factory they don't even know which side is which, and they just connect up and down to whatever it is. And well, in the end, one of my pickups had the color coding reversed after I had soldered it all. But since I knew that and I tested them, it was okay. I could figure it out in the end. Why is that important? Well, if you have the guitar in the middle position, normally the 2 pickups cancel each other out. So if you want that, you have to make sure the right coils are connected for that. And you have to know which one is the north coil, which one is the south coil. You can test that, and I will link a video in the description below where it's described how you do that. And it's actually quite easy. So I made sure that I had everything tested and knew which pickup was which and how hot they were and everything. And only after that did I go into the wiring diagram and try to figure that out. I found some different wiring diagrams that would be appropriate for this situation. I wanted to have 2 push-pull pots, and you can find wiring diagrams for that already. So after I had matched all this up with my messed up color codes, it was actually not so hard. I didn't want to solder it all twice, so I decided to test it all up front with crocodile cables and a multimeter, and that was a good decision because I immediately noticed some mistakes and it was good. But in the end I had to solder it twice anyway, because my soldering style is safety first and everything double grounded, and yeah, after I had soldered everything I realized that the mess I had created would not fit into the cavity. This is a very slim body, so there's very little space, and the push-pull pots are very big already. I had to do all the grounding via the shielding, and yeah, it was a bit of a mess and I had to do it twice, so that was annoying, but in the end I managed and it was all hooked up in the right way. So after I had done all of that, I also installed a new pickguard. I had already filed it out a little bit for some pickup covers, and it's a nice black, just a simple black, and I really like the way this looks on it. Now the pickup covers maybe weren't such a great idea. They look really good, but I still have some grounding issues with them. I think next time I take the strings off, I will have to go in there and ground them properly, because it's actual real metal. Oh well. But yes, it looks really nice. Of course I also had to do the shielding for the pickguard, and I cut myself again. So yeah, this wasn't the most straightforward process of them all. But, well, you learn in the process and you heal after a while. In the end, I had everything in the cavity. I managed to close it all up, and I put the new knobs on there, and it started to come together. It looked really cool. and I was very happy with it at that point already. And this was the point when I finally reached the main problem, which was the Radley saddles that made it completely impossible to intonate. So I replaced those with some string saver saddles, and they work really nicely, and I could definitely intonate it. The neck wasn't quite finished yet. I still had to install the locking tuners and new string trees, which is a difficult thing to say. String trees. I also tried to remove the nut, and I think short of putting some dynamite to it, it's not gonna happen. It's not budging. They must have used a lot of glue for it, and that's a problem with those cheap guitars. Next time I take the strings off, I'm gonna try again, but I'm not sure I'm gonna manage to get it off. Maybe in a few years. I don't know. I put the neck back on, put some strings on it, intonated it, and then the final touch was to put a racing stripe on it. After all, what's more ambient than racing stripes, right? This whole project was a lot of fun. It was my first project guitar, and it worked out in the end. It didn't always go as planned, but that was to be expected. When you do something for the first time, it rarely goes smoothly. But I'm very happy with the outcome. It looks super cool. I think optically it looks a lot better. And the tone knob now does something, because I also changed the cap in it to something a bit bigger. I basically replaced everything except the pickups and the jack. But I did try to preserve the original tones as much as possible, because they were the reason why I bought the guitar in the first place. Now I do have some more tones in there. I recorded the tones for you in case you want to know what you can get out of there. it's a complex issue how pickups sound. Sometimes you can improve pickups just by setting the guitar up properly. Basically, before you exchange the pickups entirely, you can try to lower them or raise them a little, and maybe you get a tone out of it that you like a bit more. I wanted a bit more of a single coil sound, which is why I did the split, but there's obviously no real single coil tone in this guitar. It's not hot enough for a proper single coil tone. It does sound very nice, especially in combination if you just use one pickup as a humbucker and one pickup as a single coil. I really like that, especially when playing clean. I'm definitely very happy with how it came out. I have tons of new tones to explore in my music. One day I will have to deal with the grounding issues of the pickup covers, but until then I will just use this to prevent me from touching the pickups all the time, which I do way too much anyway. Probably a learning opportunity right there. I think for my first project guitar it went very well and it wasn't a complete disaster. I didn't destroy anything. My soldering worked out in the end, even though I had to do it twice, and yeah, I think it feels much nicer and it plays a lot nicer after setting it up properly, and after rounding everything off, I'm very happy with the whole project. It was really cool. Of course, this project was a lot of work, but I would definitely do it again, and I think at some point when I'm done exploring all the tones in this guitar, I might get another. Maybe at some point I might want to try to get a proper single coil guitar, but until then I think I'm fine with this, well, coil split version of something like it. I'm okay with it. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It really helps out my channel, so I would appreciate it. And normally I make photography videos most of the time, but I also make all the background music myself, so if you enjoy the music of this video, then you're in the right spot. Every now and then I also make these music related builds, like guitar pedals or this guitar mod for example, and I'm pretty sure that at some point I might get another cheap guitar and mod that. Might take a while, but until then there will be guitar pedals to look forward to. If you have any questions about this mod, then leave them in the comment section below and I will try to answer them as best as I can. And now I'm going to leave you with one of my ambient tracks that involves the guitar that I've been modding, and hopefully you'll enjoy that and get a sense of what I normally do with guitars. Well, I hope I see you soon for another video. Bye! String trees. String trees. That's very difficult to say. Sometimes... What are they doing? Loud neighbors. I think that's it. String trees.